Warning, running 100 miles over a 36-hour period is just plain hard. If this is something you want to do after watching this video, try and get someone to talk you out of it. The 80-mile length of perfectly flat and concrete hard salt makes the Utah Salt Flats a natural place for setting land speed records. But that is not why Vince Romney created the Salt Flats 100 Ultramarathon, now known as the Salt Flats Endurance Run. Instead, rewind to the year 1845 when Lansford Hastings decided that one could shave over 100 miles off the California Trail by cutting through the Wasatch Mountains and across the Utah Salt Flats. He claims to have successfully traveled the route and then decided he would go back and lead wagon trains on this shorter path in 1846. Unfortunately, the infamous Donner Reed party was a week late in catching up with Hastings and had to rely on his written instructions as he had already taken another group without them. After an arduous 80-mile crossing of the Salt Flats that destroyed many of their wagons and animals, they regrouped at Hastings Junction before continuing to the springs at the base of Pilot Peak. In 2011, Vince decided he wanted to create a group run on the path that the ill-fated Donner Reed party used to cross the Salt Flats. His research showed that a large portion of that path is now under salt ponds or part of the Air Force West Desert Test and Training Range. Fortunately, Hastings Junction was easily reachable. Vince continued on the very rough road out to an area known as Sheep Camp and determined it was some of the coolest running he'd ever encountered. He felt that combining a section of the Salt Flats with Hastings Junction and continuing out to Sheep Camp would create a unique, enjoyable, and compelling 100-mile run. Putting together a run that first year proved difficult because of the required BLM permits, and so Vince organized a fun run that avoided the Salt Flats. 7 people, including Vince, took part in the inaugural Salt Flats 100. I found out about the relatively larger second-year event while refereeing a ski race at Snowbird with Vince. He mentioned that he needed help organizing the event, and I thought I could help with amateur radio support. I talked with my good friend Brett Davis, who is also a ham radio operator. He contacted the group that helps with the Wasatch 100, another ultramarathon. Everyone worked to come up with a communications plan for Vince's crazy run. Brett is always looking for excuses to use his Jeep called Freak Show 2, and was a natural choice to man Aid Station 6, also known as Sheep Camp. It is the most remote and difficult to get to section of the course. Driving there requires a full-size truck or lifted four-wheel drive vehicle. The first year we helped with the race, radio operators were in short supply, and so we also helped with 811. What we didn't realize is how much work is involved in setting up and taking down the equipment. We also hadn't quite figured out timing. Brett and I were late getting to Aid 6 and missed the first few runners. We then rushed to Aid 11, but missed those same runners again. The next couple of years we volunteered at Aid 13, but found we didn't really do much other than spending a comfortable night away from home. The past few years we have focused on just Aid 6, and that allows us to carry a lot less gear. Runners are allowed to send crews to several aid stations along the course. Aid 6 is an exception. Getting there requires traveling along a rough dirt road with a number of car-swallowing obstacles. Adventurers who spend weekends driving purpose-built rigs on rough trails will find the road easy to navigate with only 3 or 4 technical obstacles. Overconfident compact SUV drivers will find the road damaging to their vehicles and egos. One year, we had a photographer show up in an older stock Jeep Wrangler. He didn't realize that while the runners use a very narrow hiking trail to make the loop back to Aid 5, which also serves as Aid 7, he would have to retrace the route he had just traveled. We sent him on his way, shaken and scared. Runners arrive at Aid 6 and are met by the station staff, who help them fill water bottles and get food. After running for almost 40 miles on some of the most barren terrain on Earth, the 2 tents at the top of the hill are a welcome sight. Brett is the mastermind behind our small camp and must have been an expert blanket fort builder as a child. The wind is often brutally strong and we have to rely on our vehicles to serve as protection from the hurricane forces we sometimes experience. We also will get rain on occasion, and the runners appreciate being able to take shelter for a few moments before continuing the 100-mile journey. A few years ago, an informal competition arose among the various aid stations to see who could create the best experience for the runners. The remote location of Sheep Camp makes it impossible to carry much luxury in addition to all of the safety equipment required, and so we had to get creative. While we have never had a portable pizza oven like they did at Aid 13 one year, we do provide soup, grilled cheese sandwiches, and virgin pina coladas. On a warm year, nobody touches the grilled cheese. However, everyone always loves the pina coladas, complete with pineapple chunks and paper umbrellas. Runners come into Aid 6 and comment about how glad they are to see us. While the scenery is certainly epic, distances here are deceiving. The 40-mile salt flats described in the Hastings cutoff directions actually turned out to be 80 for the Donner Reed party. Runners coming over the first 3 passes on the way to Aid 6 also think we are much closer than we really are. To them, it feels like they keep running and running but don't get any closer. To make things worse, runners drop into a valley and then have an arduous climb up to our location. Some of them try to run the hill, but most end up walking. Throughout the day, we communicate with the race officials through ham radio. We let them know when people enter Aid Station 6 and when they leave. We are also aware of when runners have left Aid Station 5, which is Hastings Junction, and where the Donner Reed party rested before continuing to Pilot Peak. We can estimate when the last runner will be arriving and can start cleaning up. Everything that came with us has to be packed up and carried out, including any human waste and garbage. Both get to ride strapped to the back bumper of Freak Show 2. That explains why we don't have extensive restroom facilities. In fact, we really only have a bucket and a pile of rocks to hide behind. Space is very limited, and so we don't have a lot of room to take runners out should someone decide to abandon the run. Up until 2018, we didn't have a cutoff time for the aid station and encouraged runners to continue back to Aid 57. This has led to a few tense moments as the later runners are forced to navigate in the dark. Once the last runner has come through our aid station, we break camp and pack everything up. Then we start the bumpy ride back to Hastings Junction. In 2018, we had to bring back 3 runners that could not continue or had arrived too closely to the mandatory cutoff time. Brett's master skills as a blanket fort creator, Tetris master, and all-around engineer came in handy as we strapped equipment and chairs to the outside of our 2 Jeeps. The drive back to 857 always seems to take less time than the drive out. Once there, we wait until we are sure all the runners make it in, or there are helpers able to go rescue them if needed. We then slowly make our way back to the start-finish area, trying to keep our dust down for the runners. Once back, we are done until the next year.